כי צמצום זה.
והעניין,
כפשוטו.
צמצום זה אינו כפשוטו. This contraction that the Arizal is talking about is not kipshuto. It's not literal.
שמסתלק את האור חס ושלום.
They would say that somehow Hashem's revelation, the Or is his revelation, is somehow disappeared. Not disappeared, but
Contracted.
The word would be displaced. Siluk is like displacement. So that's not because really there's no place that's empty of Hashem. And when we say that it's not empty of Hashem, we also mean of his revelation, not just of him himself. That he himself is here, that's for certain, because otherwise it wouldn't be anything here. But it's also of his revelation. Rather, so why don't we see it? Sorry, I skipped. כמו שכתוב במדרש רבה, פרשת שמות, פרק ב', למה מתוך סנה? Why did Hashem appear to Moshe out of the bush, out of the sneh? To teach us שאין מקום פנוי בלא שכינה, אפילו סנה. That there's no place without שכינה, even this lowly bush. אלא הפירוש שהסתלקות זו היינו מבחינת הגילוי. Rather, what the Rizal meant with the contraction is that it is not a displacement of Hashem, but rather a disappearance or a concealment of his revelation. And he becomes concealed. And same thing he says in Tikkunei Zohar, that when you displace from them, that would be the literal meaning, but the meaning really is when you're concealed from them, from the Sfirot. רוצה לומר שנתעלם האור מיות בבחינת גילוי והלבשה והשגה. So the light here has stopped being revealed, it's not enclosed anymore, and it cannot be comprehended, cannot be grasped. So that's what happens to light when it's concealed. It's not that the light isn't here, it's just not being enclosed in the vessel that's usually enclosing it. So now he's going to give us the main example of this. והובן הדרך משל באדם עניין העלם וגילוי. Sorry, I skipped it. ומסתתר, and it's concealed, the light, meaning the revelation of Hashem is concealed, להיות מכוסה ומופלא ונעלם. It becomes concealed, wondrous, and hidden. That's how I would translate it. The most important one here is mufla. Right? It becomes wondrous for you. So what's the example? So if I say that, for instance, this book is wondrous to me. Okay. So what am I saying? I'm saying that even if I would learn it for a long, long time, there would still be many wonders in it that I couldn't perceive. I could not. Simply as much as my mind can hold, it can't perceive it. But that doesn't mean that the wonders aren't here. They're here in front of me even. But as far as I'm concerned, they're beyond my comprehension. I can't grasp them. So that in a certain sense is the most important one. Because much of what we mean when we say that Hashem is concealed, it means that if the mind would develop some more, if a person would dedicate himself to learning more Torah, he would create the constructs in his mind necessary in order to appreciate how Hashem is right in front of him. Like you said, lowest level might be Hashgacha, to be able to see Hashgacha. If you're not even looking for Hashgacha, you won't see it. And only when it really hits you in the face. But a person with nominal understanding what Hashgacha means will see Hashgacha in everything. A person who doesn't know what Hashgacha is, what divine providence really means, he'll only see it when it really strikes him in his face. Same thing with understanding everything that he sees. So about the tzaddikim, they kept saying that they use the light that Hashem used to create reality. They use it all the time. They see it all the time. Why do they see it? Why do they use it? Because they understand it. If you don't understand it, you can't see it. That's such an important concept that today exists everywhere, especially in psychology. You can't understand the concept if you don't have words for it. If you haven't built the mental construct in order to begin to talk about it. So you can't understand it, you can't see it. There can be, everything is right in front of you. People don't realize how the reality is so rich with so much meaning because they don't have the mental constructs to even see it. So it's like me walking into an art gallery. My understanding of art is very basic. So the amount of understanding I can get from a painting or from any other work of art is very limited. But somebody for whom this is his life,
If you walk into an art gallery and you see a picture and you say it looks like a bunch of baloney to me, right? So somebody else says to you, no, that's because you don't understand.
you don't
I will
understand
educate
composition, you don't
I will
understand.
educate you and then you will understand. So doesn't that mean that then there is something wrong with the painting? Because if you can't understand the painting for what it is, only when someone else explains it to you, then
How
it's
is
not
it?
that you have a lack of knowledge. You're supposed to be able to look at something and enjoy it. You know, you have a piece of cake. So you open your mouth and eat it, and either it tastes nice or it doesn't taste nice. You say it's McGill. I said, but you don't understand. It's got in it vanilla, and it's also got in it chocolate, it's also got cream. So those, and then I give you a lecture for 2 hours to explain to you why it tastes nice.
If the purpose is taste, so better taste good, or at least taste good with some other.
Looking at an
with
art
something else.
picture, does it
Stands by itself.
But does it have taste to your senses?
Oh,
So if I have to educate you to understand it, that means it has no appeal. There's something wrong with it, right?
it means that it's beyond your comprehension. The same way that when you opened up, when you went to
Perhaps it
grade
has
school.
no meaning.
But when you went to grade school and you looked at a book, most people they get hives when they look at an advanced math book. Open it to look at it. This thing is maybe good for a doorstop.
But that's scientific.
It's not because it's scientific.
Maths is part of science.
It's beautiful. One moment you understand what's going on. It's beauty. It's mamish beauty.
Seder.
It's not to your senses.
That's the same as the Gemara.
And
That's
Nachon.
because it needs to be understood.
Nachon. There are different levels.
The
When you
picture
talk about the physical experience of reality, that's a common denominator, which is the lowest common denominator for all human beings and probably all animals. All sentient beings at some level have an experience of the physical realm. Okay. So at this physical realm, you can argue about whether the chocolate cake is good or not. Okay. But when it comes to something that requires a little bit more than just taste buds, okay, it requires some kind of mental analysis and understanding. So it depends on how your vessel is, because that vessel you don't come equipped with it the moment you're born. You have to develop that vessel, and developing that vessel takes time and effort. But once you've developed it, you see it. Then you suddenly appreciate the beauty in a mathematical equation. You see the beauty in a proof. You see the beauty in an application of mathematics that nobody ever thought about. You see how useful it is, and so on. Again, if you don't get it down to the level of this thing, which is almost like taste buds. So some people would argue, said you haven't changed my world yet, because people are so unwilling to change their mental construct. You have to bring it down to them all the way down. So that's what Chassidus tries to do. But in the end, if you really want to talk about deep things, there's no substitute for learning. Right? At least language. If you would just stay with chocolate cake your whole life, you'd be missing out on most of the world that everybody understands. So imagine human interactions, how you understand human interactions the moment you put psychology into it, the moment you put sociology into it. I have a brother-in-law who 40 years ago met somebody whose name I never remember. He met him at a very high-powered managers type of seminar in Washington. And actually, it was given by the U.S. government. I don't know what the idea exactly was. And this guy was in the beginning of developing his shita. And he taught it to my brother-in-law. And from that moment on, he started seeing almost all human interaction based on this guy's analysis. It's based on somebody who wrote something called "I'm Okay, You're Okay." I don't remember the particulars. Somebody went through a lot of work on looking at inmates' videos, like videos from prisons, where the interactions are pretty extreme, and he analyzed them, and he came to a certain understanding about how human interactions work. So the moment he sees that, you can't argue that he sees an element that most people miss, and he's able to quickly sort of it almost looks like manipulation, but he's not really doing manipulation. He just has more information than most people do. He knows what to do with what he's seeing. So it changes the whole way you experience reality. There's something I wanted to say about that. No, it's very not from. In fact, he uses it to understand religion as some kind of human interaction.
How's he related to you?
Married my sister. There's something more I wanted to say.
In the States or is it?
We live in Los Angeles.
Is that part of the States, right?
What? No, not anymore. California is seceded from the Union. They're too leftist to stay there. Anyway, I remember. I wanted to say something more, but I remember right now. Okay. So now, what's the main example for this? So that's mufla, but there's also ne'elam. So really the main word is ne'elam. It's hidden. That Hashem is hidden in reality. That the revelation of Hashem is hidden, not Hashem himself. Hashem himself, there's no question. This is Hashem. He can't. This is Hashem. Everything here is Hashem. העניין מה שכתוב מזה בליקוטי תורה ברור פסוק סוס הסיס פרק פרק ב' ויובן על דרך משל באדם עניין ההלם וגילוי. So הלם וגילוי, concealment and revelation, and again Hashem is revealed, it's just that the revelation is now concealed. This we learn in man from a very particular example. What's the example? כגון שלמד איזו מסכתא. So a person has finished some piece of knowledge. In this case, he's learned the whole tractate of Talmud. V'yodea ota ba'al peh, he knows it by heart, the way that many people do know. And I have a son now who's finished Baruch Hashem a few Masechtot 10, 12 times, so he remembers it by heart. He already remembers that. If you learn something 10, 12 times, in the end you know it by heart. Im kol inanea v'svarot v'askalot shabav. This guy is very advanced, so he also understands all the reasoning and all the svaras, all the different theories about why the reasoning is this way. Shabalo umko, and he went really down into the deep depth of understanding this tractate. Ulashuro ba'er etev, with all the different commentaries. And der shamur azal v'dam yalei keman demanach bekufsa. And Chazal uses this image that the knowledge is as if it's in a box. It's like, here it is. Here's the box. It's in front of me. I can open it anytime I want. Everything is in there. The way that a person puts its treasures in a box. Still, the idna de asik b'masechta achariti. Sorry, it's good. V'nei kshechoshev u'mdaber ba, azay gluya b'machshavto v'dibra b'chnat gilui. When he's talking about it, when he's engaging in talking about this tractate of Talmud, so his mind is now revealing his knowledge. His mind is enclosed with the knowledge. His active mind, his active consciousness. So you see it. You talk to him and you see that he knows these things. But where does it go when he's not talking about it? When he's learning a new tractate, and then his mind, his thought, and his speech are talking about and engaging something else. Or he's sitting and he's not
doing nothing.
He's not at all thinking or dealing with that masechet. He's doing something else. He's at work. So you see that the understanding, all the depth of his knowledge about that particular tractate which he's already mastered is not in his thought. It's not in his mind. It's not in his speech. But does it make it that he doesn't have this knowledge? Of course he has this knowledge. So it's not revealed because it's not enclosed in a vessel. There's no vessel to reveal it at the moment.
It's in his memory.
Okay? So it's still there. And to say that it's in the memory is a little... It doesn't want to use that word. Because that's like saying nothing. Nobody knows what memory is. We know it's there. What's it going to take to bring it out? Maybe just somebody is starting to talk to him about a certain blot, daf that he knows, and now he's going to bring you all the information, where the information come from. So you call it memory. Memory means nothing. It's like saying soul. What do you mean? What are you talking about? You saw the structure once. You know how it's built, how many gigabytes it has. What is it? It's a word that means nothing in the end. We think we're beginning to understand how it works. We definitely don't know where it's stored, and we don't know how it's stored. Okay. So, you can't say that it's not in his mind at all. Who are saying mind? Again, where in the mind? I don't know. But you can't say that it's not there. Because the moment that he wants to return to talk and speak about this knowledge that he has, this understanding that he has, he can do it. Bishlemut, b'chol hapratim. He has had a level of mastery that he has all the details accessible at any moment that he wants. Apparently he also has to repeat it once in a while so that it doesn't get rusty. But he remembers it. Again, like the story you told me of the Rogachover, you told me, no? He learned it this morning. Somebody came and asked him a shaila, a hard shaila in Kiddushin or somewhere. So right away he told him everything. So he was astounded what a memory this man has. He says, what are you talking about? He learned it this morning. Why? Not that he didn't learn it the first time. He learned it in the upteenth time. Who knows how many times he learned it. But every day or every few days he goes over all of Shas in his head. So it's all very accessible to him. And that's called the Damyale Command Manach B'Kusakana. That's what it means, that it's like it's placed in a box in front of him. Therefore, you have to say that even when he's not accessing it, he's not talking about it, he's not thinking about it, it's still somewhere in his mind, in its entirety. But it's simply not enclosed in the letters of thought, the letters of speech, as when he is engaged in it practically. Now he says this word, what's moach hazikaron? It's etched. That's the word. It's like it's engraved in his mind of memory. Okay. What's the mind of memory? We know that the mind of memory is what in Kabbalah is called moach chokhmah, the brain of wisdom. Okay. The brain of wisdom is chokhmah, and the brain of analysis is bina. But it's very interesting because chokhmah we usually associate it with inspiration, and there's but that's chokhmah in the sense of chokhmah as the bridge between what we call the concealed mind, the power of thought itself, and the power of analysis, which is bina.
So there are two different issues here.
Okay.
If you sit down and learn Masechet Shabbos, in exactly this situation, learn the whole Masechet from beginning to end, and it's like in a box. You can open the box and take out any shayla on Shabbos whenever you like, then close the box and take it away. In exactly the same situation as, unfortunately, my brother's sister, she has a daughter who was brought up completely from, broke away completely from Yiddishkeit, doesn't keep anything, doesn't leave anything. And as she's driving in her car on Shabbos, she can be telling you about Hilchos Shabbos and what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do. In other words, it's not connected to reality. But if you learn Masechet Shabbos, and it changes your whole way of behaving, then it's not locked up in a box, it's not in your memory, because it's now changed your whole lifestyle.
Yeah, but it changes your lifestyle, but without you having to access the actual knowledge. You've just allowed it to affect how you act.
If you needed to access that knowledge,
not at every moment. Not every moment.
No, you needed at a point in time to access the knowledge. You're not allowed to drive on Shabbos, you're not allowed to ride on Shabbos. So you'd never go and ride.
No, that's habits. You get habits. You keep Shabbos because you think of the halachos. If you have a Shabbat, you think of the halachos. You don't think of the halachos every Shabbos.
The basic reason why you're keeping all of these things
is because it affected
you once learned it.
It affected your habits. But you don't have to learn it. I could know how to keep Shabbos without ever opening up Masechet Shabbos.
But you learned it from somewhere, somehow, something.
From my parents, but it's like habits. It's good habits. It's like I learned how to brush my teeth. Nobody ever taught me how to make a toothbrush, nor do I care. I don't know what toothpaste is made out of. Maybe you do. I have no idea what it's made out of. I don't care. As long as I know that those are habits. We talked about this. One of the biggest problems that we have with our parents is that we only see the habits, we don't see the thinking behind it. It could be my father is the greatest halachic mind of the century. In the end, what I see are his habits. I can't see his mind.
If a child only picks up the habits of their parents,
but that's every child.
Then there's a failure.
No, it's always that way. It's always like that. The main thing you pick up, 99% of what you pick up, is the habits. The 1% is maybe, for instance, even if your father is the greatest halachic mind of the century, and every Shabbos he talks about Hilchos Shabbos, what will you pick up as a child? As a child, I'm not talking about as an adult, that you decide to pick up something else, that you decide you're going to.
There is some logic behind why you're doing all this.
I don't think so. I think what you're going to kill.
Otherwise, the kid comes home from university and he says, "I'd like to meet my girlfriend, right? And she's a black, whatever this. He says, but she's not Jewish. I says, so what? He says, we don't marry non-Jewish. I says, why not? Because that's what we do in this family.
Yeah, that's all.
I said, no value. I said, no meaning. You've been brought up all your life.
So I want to say the guy who.
Then you don't talk like that.
So a guy, even if his father knows all the reasons, okay, and he talks every Shabbos, he talks for an hour at the table, Hilchos Shabbos, what he'll pick up is that it's a good habit, if he wants to follow it, it's a good habit to talk about Hilchos Shabbos for an hour every Shabbos. Doesn't mean that he knows why you keep Shabbos at all. He might not have any of the meaning behind Shabbos. What he'll have is the habit that you're supposed to talk about this for an hour. That's what it means to see habits. To see habits is to see the action, not to understand what motivates the action. He doesn't understand. He may never hear, this is so common, he may never hear that the reason why the father talks about Hilchos Shabbos for an hour every Shabbos was because he wanted to instill in his children a love of Shabbos. Huh? What's the connection? It's true that if you deal with something, you'll love it, you'll be more connected to it, so on, but you have to talk about the meaning. If you never speak about the meaning, you only speak about the halachos, it won't change the person's connection to it. That's why Chassidus is pnimius the Torah, because you're trying to instill it. That's what was missing. That's why you could come out not frum. You could be in the firmest house in the world, and your father only had good habits as far as you're concerned. You never saw, and by the way, it could very well be that he only had good habits also from his parents. That he even, sometimes you take people who mamish know halacha, and they have no understanding. Today you can't, because nobody will let you get by with it. But there used to be mamish halachic minds who knew very little about the thinking behind the mitzvahs. And I know a guy like this right now. The sad thing is that he's looking for meaning, and he's afraid of pnimius the Torah. He knows a lot of halacha, really, like, top level. He's afraid to touch Chassidus. For him, it's a bunch of mumbo jumbo. He doesn't get it. So what does he adapt as his meaning construct? He goes to university. Mamish lost. He believes the academic knowledge as a source for meaning much more than he believes the Torah. He doesn't know the Torah has a dimension of meaning in it. Halacha, he's very, very strict. He mamish knows, you deviate a tiny bit from halacha, he goes crazy. But the meaning he's willing to take from the goyim. How did you get to this state? Because he doesn't know, he doesn't realize that there's a meaning dimension to the Torah. That's the inner dimension of Torah. But it's not just because he doesn't know Chassidus. Even people who knew Chassidus, even the Friediger Rebbe. I told you the famous letter. The letter never leaves my mind. If somebody could ask the question, why do we learn Chassidus? And the answer is, I don't know, because my father learned. What?
Who said that?
The Friediger Rebbe, that's what he writes in the beginning of the letter. But now that you've asked, I've sat down and thought about it. You didn't think about this until now.
I don't believe that the Rebbe
Said it,
meant it when he said it.
you can do
He
any
is
kind of,
emotional.
you can write Rashi on anything you want. It's black on white, he says it. You can explain it any way you want. I believe him. Because I believe him that he's such a frumer that if his father did something, he does it also. There's an element like that in Yiddishkeit. But that's what everybody went against because they didn't understand the meaning. They couldn't get it. What Yiddishkeit is just a bunch of good habits? Maybe I don't think the habits are good, so let's stop. You can't. That's one of the big chidushim of the Arizal. I always repeat this because the biggest thing I heard about education from the Arizal is that children only see the nehi of their parents. Every partzuf, every child spiritually only sees the legs of its parents, which in chinuch means that doesn't matter how much you'll speak and how deep you think it has meaning for you. For the child, all it is a good habit. Because habits are the reglaim, they're the feet.
So there's the krechs of Yiddishkeit.
Okay.
What is it? Shreches an Yiddish.
Nachon.
Yeah, go and
Say that.
go and pray.